Okay, so we are going live here. We should be getting live everywhere. Let's see. So we're just starting the stream. I want to make sure everyone can hear us today. Yesterday we had technical issues with a browser. Safari was actually blocking the wireless signal. So I'm trusting it's coming through right now. And we're just going to wait for a few people to join.
Somebody give us a thumbs up if they can hear. Can you hear us?
Yeah, that should be good.
It's got a delay.
That's a delay. So at least the sound is coming through, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go. Okay, to those who are just joining us, we really appreciate it. We apologize for yesterday again, and thank you to all the people that showed up because there was no sound, and we were on here for about 40 minutes without realizing, talking to ourselves.
It was a really good conversation. I just want you to know that.
So, a couple of housekeeping matters first. This is we're starting a new, live show phase of Paso Verse here, where we want to connect with the community. We want to really hear what everyone has to say about input, about what it's going to be like to live in the Old West in the 1800s, in 1900s, 1880s. And, we don't rely on AI and robots and algorithms to spread the message because this is such a novel idea. This is such a new thing. This has never been done before. So the only way that this is going to travel is with the people and the people really imagining this and wanting to live in it. And then we want to get there as soon as possible because we think this is the most incredible thing on the planet. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but first objective is to get the word out. We think these live streams are really going to help because it's going to allow people to really get involved in shaping of this and setting the tone of everything. So that's kind of the purpose of what these are about. Other than that, they're kind of informal chats about how we see it, from our end, what we're dreaming about and seeing in our minds.
Also, we're hoping that people are going to weigh in and give us, hopefully, some good ideas. There's so many aspects to this thing. I'm sure there's lots of things we haven't even covered yet. So, anybody has anything to say, please speak up.
Yeah, by the let me see if I get the switcher here. Hold on. By the end of this, we will open up for some questions today. But we want to go through on the agenda today. Is that okay? Sound is good. That's good, so people can hear us. Hi, Steve. Nice to see you. So, yeah. So today we're going to really talk about the hub and how you enter into the El Paso verse. That means how you leave your life as it is today behind, and then step into another world, another time.
So there's so much information for us to cover that we're going to have to break it up into separate live feeds. And we'll just focus on one aspect at a time. So hopefully, we'll get a more clear picture of the whole project a little at a time. We don't want to expect people to sit here for 10 hours. So we'll just do one topic at a time and then move on to the next. And again, if there's anything you didn't catch in the last time, you can either text us, email us, or actually you can respond to any of our messages. We reply to all the messages on all the platforms.
Yeah, and we should also say where we are. I mean, we're streaming live from Death Valley, and we built this building here ourselves for the last 2 months, which has been grueling. I mean, we've been two people. I mean, Christian. Christian is the chairman of Paso Verse, and one of the people that have been part of the project from the very, very beginning. And then we also had a few partners come out from Spain and from different places. Also from, where does Paul live? He's in.
He right now is in Ohio.
Yeah, so we've had, at any given time, 2, 3 people out here building this building, and we built it from the ground up, and it's an old Western building that's period correct. And, that was quite an experience. It's very relevant to what we're going to talk about. And you're seeing just one set here, but we have multiple sets that we'll be streaming from. This is the Saloon Chats corner. We'll have a separate one talking about the books and another one talking about the land, so and more. So there's more to come. So I think people are just tuning in, and I think what we want to do is kind of go over what the hub is.
hopefully you've already watched the last video that we did describing the basics of the El Paso verse. Do you want to live in the 1880s? If you have, when Ryan was talking about how you initially come into the hub, and then from the hub you get into level 1, level 2, and level 3. And so we're going to discuss that first. We're going to talk about what the hub is and what to expect there.
Yeah. In brief summary, before we start with that, for those that haven't watched the video that's called El Paso
Back,
Verse Revealed, or do you
back
want
to
to
the
live?
1880s.
Yeah, do you want to live in 1882?
Yeah.
Go watch it. I mean, after the stream, it'll kind of give you context for everything we're talking about. But the basic idea here is we're acquiring and buying land on the border leading up to, I mean, right by the Rio Grande, borderline between Texas and Mexico, and we're going to transform it into a civilization of at least 3 Western towns of the 1880s, where you can live there and immerse yourself in it fully. You can work there. You can build your business there. It's going to be extraordinary. It's, we're so excited about this. So make sure you watch that video after this for context. But today we're going to talk about the first step of leaving modern day life behind and entering the El Paso verse. And this is a couple of years ahead, but we're going to get there. So, Christian, do you want to start about?
Well, first of all, the hub is not only the property line from the modern world into the El Paso verse. It's going to be the main place where you park your cars. If you're coming to the El Paso verse, you park your cars. You leave your modern clothes. You leave your cell phone. You go through an orientation, and there's also it's the travel hub that takes you to the different areas of the El Paso verse. So first of all, the hub is the parking spot. In addition to that, there's a truck dock where supplies are going to be coming in and out of the El Paso verse. So not only is there going to be like people coming in and out, but if you're ordering anything from the modern world, say it's you're ordering food or you're ordering clothing or whatever it may be that you're shipping into the El Paso verse, it has to come in by truck, and there'll be a dock there, which in turn that dock will be backed up to the railroad. So the railroad will have a dock there on the opposite side where whatever you purchase will go into a room where it'll be demodernized. So it'll be taken out of its original wrappers. It'll be put into barrels or to boxes or bags or whatever it may be. Maybe some things are coming in and they're already period correct. And if they are, then that stuff will be converted and then put onto the train or into freight wagon or into stagecoach to go to the rest of the El Paso verse. That's the first thing that the hub is. Second thing that the hub is there's a warehouse there where we'll have a huge costume room, which will be filled with men's and women's, children's clothing. So that way, when you come in to the El Paso verse into the hub, you will not be allowed to bring your cell phones or your cameras or anything like that. Anything that's going to tell you you're in the modern day. That stuff will be put into lockers. There'll be hotel rooms there, so you can get a room if you choose, and you'll put all your things aside, change into your costume if you already have a costume that gets approved and you go in, or you can change into a costume that we have, and then you can get on a train or a stagecoach or a horse, or whatever it is you want to go into the El Paso verse.
But wait a minute. I mean, there's I've had the question several times where people are asking, how if I'm going to go into this place and experience it, you mean I can't take my cell phone? I can't, experience. I mean, how can I share it? If it's to some people, it's going to be like it never happened because we're so attached to that. Are we going to be able to take photos?
Yes.
How's we got to talk about how that's going to work.
Some people today can't live without their cell phones. Personally, I'd love to live without a cell phone. I get tired of carrying mine around. A lot of people can't. They need their cell phones, especially too if you're going to be going on this big adventure into this amazing place. You won't be able to take pictures and you won't be able to share it with anyone. The only ways that you're going to be able to communicate with the outside when you're in the El Paso verse is you can send letters. Letters have to be double enveloped. These double envelope letters will come to the hub. The outside letter, which is the modern one, will be thrown away, and then the new letter that's on the inside, which should be period correct, will then be passed on to whoever the person is inside the El Paso verse.
Yeah. So how are we going to get the? I mean, because our lives today is so connected to communication with everyone.
It's true.
It's going to be a very dramatic transition of going into a place where you're not in direct contact.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, something I like about this is the fact that you used to be able to look forward to letters. It was something you'd run to the mailbox and hope that the response was there,
Yeah.
or you're going to see a person that you haven't seen in a long time, and you're really thinking about what you're going to say to that person, what you're going to share with them and tell them, and I think that romance of it to me is as powerful as really anything else. And so, how is the communication going to work here?
Well, so 1882, they had phones. The phones were the old, hello, hello, you dial it up. You ever saw Little House on the Prairie? They had a phone in the general store. Phones in the 1880s were not very common. They were very rare, actually. And so most people wouldn't have them in their houses. They would have them like in an office building or maybe in a government building or in a general store where people can pay to use the phone. That's pretty much what we're going to have. If you absolutely have to communicate with the outside world, you can use the telephone in the general store. However, there's not going to be that many phones inside the El Paso Verse. So if you're going to have 100 people wanting to talk on the phone all at once, it's probably not going to work. There'll probably be a line, but there will be calls that will be coming into the El Paso Verse, and so maybe the people at the general store will be like, hey, go get Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson has a call, and then somebody can run out and find Mr. Johnson, and he can run in and say, oh, what's going on? You got a call from New York, whatever. Then that's the second mode of communication. The third mode of communication will be Western Union. So you'll be able to send, on the outside at the hub, you'll be able to register with an email address where somebody can receive an email. They can put it on paper. They can write out the message that's coming as a Western Union message, and then send it to somebody on the inside, and vice versa. So you have three modes of communication.
So, in summary, they are
Telephone, but not that much. Western Union, which is for everyone, unless they're completely blocked up with messages too. And then mail letters. So
I have a question, and I
shoot.
know this one you're interested in.
Shoot.
Before we get too deep into everything else, it's going to be hot, and as you know, just being here now, streaming from this place, it is so hot. I mean, it's
hot here.
42 degrees, but that's
It's
part
like
of
100. Yeah.
yeah, but that's like part of life back then, right? So, but you are someone I know very well. You love air condition.
Yes.
It is impossible to get you out of air conditioning. When we're in the same room, you have it turned down to like 67 degrees, and I'm miserable. I want to turn it off, and I want to be somewhere in the middle. But and you love iced tea with cold drinks.
Yes.
Once you leave and go into the Paso Verse, how's that going to work? How are you going to stay cool? We got to talk about that because you have some ideas.
Okay.
I don't want you to reveal all of them because I know someone that comes in level one. But the
Okay.
basic idea is: are you going to go into the desert here and just bring a flask of water? I mean, how extreme
Okay.
is this
Okay.
experience going to be?
So air conditioning wasn't in the Old West. In fact, if you even go back to my father's generation, my father didn't have air conditioning in his house in the 1950s. So there was several ways to stay cool, but not necessarily air conditioned.
Mhm.
One is you can go jump in the river, which is the best way.
Okay,
Or the lake.
we are gonna have a river, so
Yeah.
that's an alternative.
Second thing you can do is you can go underground. And I believe that being underground is much cooler. That's why a lot of times in El Paso and some of the old Western buildings, adobe, really thick adobe walls. It stays, relatively cool throughout the day in that. Also, there's evaporation methods you can use. You can use burlap. You can wet the burlap down. The breeze blows through it. It's like a old-fashioned swamp cooler, evaporative cooler.
So where do you get ice from? Where's
So
ice gonna come from? I know that's the main thing.
Ice in the Old West actually came from lakes and storage facilities that would freeze up in the wintertime. So let's say Michigan freezes up in the wintertime. They would have humongous ice houses. These people would go out in the winter. They would saw giant blocks of ice. They would load them onto a train, cover them with sawdust or straw or both, and they would haul them anywhere in the country that they were needed. So you can get ice. You were able to get ice in 1882 in Tombstone, Arizona. You're able to get ice anywhere. And most towns had ice houses. You can store the ice all year long in an ice house, which is another good place to stay cool.
All right. So what Christian's saying here is there's hope. There's going to be ice. There's going to be cooling. There's going to be cool drinks.
If you can afford it.
Yeah. Well, for the visitors in El Paso Verse, you mean?
Everybody has to buy the ice. Ice isn't free.
No, you got. Yeah, that's right. So it's a valuable commodity. It's white gold, isn't it? But what's more valuable here in this sense is going to be Pasos. Pasos is going to get you, whatever you want. But it all starts at the hub, the depot for all this. Those that are just joining us, we're just digging into what is taking place at the hub. So there's going to be a train, as I understand, that is going to be
steam train. There'll probably be two to start with that will make at least two tracks around the entire El Paso Verse twice a day. probably one heading east, one heading west. We'll see how that works. The schedule can be changed, but unloading supplies, and in the case of the first level, it'll be unloading people who are coming to visit the El Paso Verse. Of course, if you're in 2 or 3 and you want to get out of there via train, they can take passengers out as well up to the hub. So yeah, supplies, everything is coming in through the hub, through the train, through freight wagons, and through stagecoaches.
Okay, so I mean, you did a drawing on the board the other night, and
Mhm.
I've seen your plans for. We have a highway where people are driving the cars in from the highway, they're getting up
Mhm.
to the property, and then they get to the hub. And at the hub, you're going to park your car. I'm going to kind of walk people through this. You park your car, you check in, you go through some kind of check-in process to check into the Paso Verse.
Mhm.
We're assuming this is tourists that are coming for a day. People are coming for, you know,
That's one of the things that I was talking about, is that there's 2 kinds of people we think will be coming to the El Paso Verse. One is going to be the person who's not really interested in living in the Old West, somebody who's interested in seeing the Old West. Somebody will come in on the train, spend the day, enjoy themselves, going to Saloon, shopping, whatever it is they're doing in the 1800s, having something to eat, and then they get on the train and then they're gone. They change back into their clothes and they're done. That's what they're there for. That's fine. Then there's the other group of people who are the people who are going to be the lifers, who want to live the lifestyle, who want to go into the second level. They don't want to be disturbed by anything modern. They want to build their businesses or whatever it is that excites them, and they want to do that in level 2. And those people would probably be staying for months or years at a time, or even a week. Who knows? Whatever they feel they have to stay. Those people will be not likely coming in and out. It'll mainly be the tourists who will be coming through level 1, that'll be coming in and off the train daily.
so, but we don't see this as a theme park like Disney World or something like
It's not
this.
a theme park.
You can't enter by paying a ticket at the door. It's going to be a bit different.
It is.
We have an exchange office for pesos, kind of like a casino where you have to exchange dollars or whatever your currency into
Mm-hmm.
the currency that's in El Paso, which is the
Mm-hmm.
pesos.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, you can enter, you can stay for a day, and you can stay in level 1. But if you want to go to level 2, that's something entirely different that we're going to cover in our upcoming episode. That's for the people that live there,
Yeah.
people that really live in the Old West. I think level 1 is going to be like a Wild West. It's going to be where a lot of action happens. It's going to be a very busy town.
Right.
But um, you know how people cross into that. We've been thinking about, how are people going to act? Are they going to, are they going to be able to conform to the Wild West or the Old West as they get in? But I don't think we need to worry about that. In the same way that if you have an actor and you set up scene direction for an actor, you get him into the fabrics. He's there with the horse, and his action is he's going to go over there and collect that rifle and then put it on the horse and ride out.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask him to do that, he's no longer thinking about how to act.
Mm-hmm.
He's just reacting to the elements. He's reacting to the horse. He's reacting to the nature
Sure.
around him. He's reacting to the
Sure.
mechanism and the fabrics.
Sure.
I think that's going to happen to people. The moment they enter through the hub and they come through,
Yeah.
the elements will shape people.
Mm-hmm.
It'll give you a purpose and a reason. And the fact that it's not just a theme park where you're looking for rides, you're going in to deal with your business or to go get your mail or to get your supplies to build your cabin. I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be the lifestyle. So it's going to be
Right.
natural,
Right.
um,
Right.
you know,
There will be a certain amount of orientation at the hub, like we were talking about. Some people are going to have to be taught how to wear the clothing. Some people are going to have to be.
you think people need to be trained to wear the clothing? Is it that
Absolutely.
different?
If you're going to hand a lady a corset, how many women do you know today know how to put a corset on? I'm
Okay,
sure
yeah.
there's not that many.
What's another
And so,
example?
yeah.
What's
So,
another example?
um, of something that they could be putting on.
I know one.
What?
Getting someone's boots off.
Yeah. Getting someone's boots off. That could be a difficult
Sorry,
thing.
sorry. Side story. Christian and I are shooting scenes for the book covers for the Paso Verse book series, and he has a set of boots that I don't know where he got them from. He just had
They're
them a
hard to
long
get
time.
on and they're hard to get off.
He hadn't told me anything about this, and we were done with the shoot. He said, "Ryan, would you mind getting my boots off?
Yeah.
Help me with my boots."
Yeah.
And this was the worst experience. My hands were hurting. My
Yeah.
shoulders were hurting. We were pulling and tugging, and I
We
forbid
shot it
him-
last week and he just finished 5 minutes ago.
I mean, I forbid you to ever wear these boots again.
Yeah,
So,
we're not wearing anymore.
but walking. I guess the clothes are different. You got to get accustomed to wearing them, but I think it happens pretty fast.
I don't think really the clothing is going to be the biggest concern for people when they're coming in. I think it's just give people a rough understanding of what the population is going to be like on the inside, what they can and what they can't do,
Mhm.
and make sure that they understand that, if you bring in a cell phone or you're smuggling contraband from the outside, you're ruining it for everyone else.
Well,
So,
yeah. I mean, we're going to be very strict when you check into the hub. There's nothing you can take with you. There'll be, you basically have to go through a room and take all your clothes off. You have to put all your items in a locker,
mhm,
and then you walk through a dressing area
mhm,
where you get to choose your outfit
mhm,
according to the style you would like or the
mhm,
level you want to enter at.
mhm.
And by the time you're through that, you don't have anything with you from the outside world. You're just stepping into what's on the other side. So
Mhm.
what can you expect when you come through on the other side? We have a lot more people joining us now,
So,
and just
um,
explain.
so there's another facet to the El Paso verse is that we, in the first 5 years, while we're building the town and things are being put into place, we're going to still be able to, we're going to want to shoot some films from some of the IP that we own, the El Paso verse owns. And so we're going to be shooting a lot of that stuff in some of the town areas that we're going to be building for the first 5 years. After those 5 years end, then there's not going to be allowed any modern construction after that. All the construction then have to be done with period saws, period hammer and nails. No more, cranes or hoists or whatever pneumatic tools. It's all going to be done by hand. So during those first 5 years, we're going to be shooting a lot of TV shows and hopefully features in those areas. Next to the hub, there'll be a small town area. There'll be a large theater. There'll be the stagecoach line. There'll be the freight line. There'll be also emergency services, which will be there at the entrance to the hub, like a fire department, maybe a medic will be there, ambulance department. We'll see an ambulance company. We'll see what we need there. But once you go through, you'll look back at the hub, and the hub will just be a wall of, another Western town, another Western building. So
Yeah.
also there'll be a railroad track there. The railroad track will go right in front of the hub. In addition to that, inside the hub, there'll be a supply storage area. So a lot of the supplies that people are going to be ordering from the outside are going to be the same things that'll be redundantly ordered. So we'll keep a stock of basic supplies there at the warehouse. And those things, when they're ordered, they can be just shipped directly from us into the El Paso verse, whatever it
But
be.
we're going to have a repackaging of all the supplies that
I
comes
was
in.
going to
Explain a
that
little bit
next.
how that's going to work.
Yeah, so we'll have a repackaging area also. So if you order, I don't know, peanuts, and the peanuts come in a modern package, we'll take those peanuts and we'll put them into a period bag, and then those will get shipped in. Nothing will arrive in plastic or anything. It'll come in barrels or boxes or bags. Nothing will be modern.
So, I mean, are we talking? I mean, we were talking about what kind of goods you can expect. Is it going to be meats? Is it going to be fish? I mean, are you going to be able to get what can you expect here?
So in the 1800s, you could pretty much get everything you could get, now within reason. I don't mean like modern technology, but you could get, rare meats, like you can get lobster and fish and crab, and you could get, all kinds of different cuts of meat, like lamb and beef and all that. Besides people owning animals on the inside of the El Paso verse, you'll be able to import other things
Livestock.
too. Livestock, but in addition to livestock, you'll be able to import. If you want to buy, porterhouse steaks or whatever and have them delivered to you, you can have that brought via train
Because you told me a story the other day that happened. People were able to get Maine lobster back in
from Maine
1880
in
with
Tombstone
with the train,
with the train.
just like you are today, by the
And the
way.
lobster was still live. The lobster was still alive. Same thing as Wyatt Earp used to eat ice cream every day in 1882 in Tombstone.
It's
He'd go to the
crazy.
ice cream parlor and get ice cream every day. They said on his walking home from work. So if you have ice cubes that are coming in with the train, you can easily have an ice cream parlor that's making all kinds of frozen desserts.
Okay, so I mean, what's a big difference here that people need to imagine is that this is not a ghost town, Western town street. It's not a
Yeah.
park. This is a
It's not
whole.
Disneyland. It's not Calico. It's not any of those things. It's full immersion. There are some aspects about it. Nobody wants to go to a lazy town where there's nothing going on. There has to be some form of entertainment going on. So we believe there'll be certain stories that are blended into the first level that people can see. Like maybe there could be a gunfight, or there could be
Yeah, but that we're going to cover more in level one.
yeah,
We'll get more into that.
right.
How the store. It'll be one of the busiest places. That's going to be kind of a mecca for everything happening. It'll be a blend of tourists coming in. It'll have some storylines. It'll have people from level 2. But I think what we need to talk a little bit about is once you go into the wild here and you enter into the West, how can you get back out? How do you have any security? Do you have any safety? Is there any rescue scenarios? What about if you get sick? You know,
Yeah. So one of the debates we've been having, I'm not quite sure because the laws from the state of Texas and also the laws from the federal government are still active, even though we're in the El Paso verse. Certain laws are going to have to be observed while we're there that weren't necessarily observed in the Old West. So, like, there has to be some way that emergency services can take care of people. So, we don't want ambulances and we don't want helicopters coming into the El Paso verse. And we're going to have to, find out where that line is, where the government's going to allow us to, bring people in, or where we have to bring people in or out. Most people who get sick, are not feeling well. You get on the train, you go back to the hub, you go to the doctor wherever you want.
yeah, you're looking at a 20-minute ride probably on the train, and then when you get to the hub, there'll be full medical services.
There'll be
Everything
medical services at the hub, so
But
you will never be far away from some sort of care. But as far as, like, hospital care and that sort of thing, you're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave the El Paso verse to get that taken care of.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit similar to going on adventure. I mean, going into what do you call those when you go on a ride, rafting, or you go into nature
Yeah, whitewater
experiences, or
rafting or something like that. You take a little bit of your own responsibility for yourself.
yeah,
I mean, there things that you're doing are dangerous. We're hoping the El Paso verse won't be that dangerous, but it depends what you're doing.
yeah. But if you're in the built up towns, I mean,
Yeah,
you will have everything that a modern town has. It's just they will be having the tools of the time.
correct.
So if you do have to go to the doctor in level 1, you're dealing with the doctor of the tools that was
Right.
available at the time.
I don't know. We might
But
have somebody who wants to be a doctor in the El Paso verse, and that would be great. If he's like a legitimate doctor now and he wants to run his own practice in the El Paso verse, that'd be awesome.
absolutely, that's a business that
Yeah.
has to be run. Same with police, same with everything else. But so at the hub, we will have the standby readiness to handle anything that happens in the El Paso verse. But they'll be connected with the phone lines, telegraph lines. It'll have the ability to deploy and go to exit points
Hmm.
around the
Hmm.
park, if you will.
Hmm.
But everything goes back with the train there. You have a freight company. You want to talk about the freight versus train
So
and stagecoach?
the freight company, I think the freight company is probably going to be more likely for people in level 2, maybe level 1. I don't know. But the train, if it's only running a couple of times a day, you can still bring supplies in via the freight company, which are large wagons being pulled by mules or horses. Those will take much more time to come from the hub to level 1, 2, or 3.
But they can go anywhere. That's the
They
difference.
they can go anywhere. So
If you built your
if
business or your home on the outskirts of town, which is
correct,
likely, you
correct,
know,
you can have it delivered with the freight company right up to your front door.
and for freight, we're talking about delivery of materials,
Lumber,
goods.
supplies, whatever it is, whatever
Yeah.
you want brought in, anything that the train can bring in, the freight company can bring in too, within reason.
Just a brief overview here is that if you're coming into the Pasoverse during the initial 5 years and you're building your business or your home or whatever you plan to do there, you'll be able to use modern tools, modern accommodations to get up to speed because we need
Right.
to get up to speed. If we were going to build all this with historic tools, we will be building for 20 years to get to the
Yeah.
scale we're talking about.
Yeah.
We got to get there in 3 to 5 years so that when we open, it's built to a certain scale.
Correct.
So anyone coming in early are going to have the advantages of building with modern tools just
Mhm.
like the two of us were able to build the building like this ourselves in a matter of 2 months.
Yeah.
It was two of us plus 2, 3 other people that came in to help.
Yes.
You can do that if you have modern tools. If you're
Correct.
dealing with old school
Saws,
saw and
then you
hammers and
need a lot more
nails,
people.
a lot.
A lot more people.
But but we are going to need a lot of people. But everyone's going to come through the hub. Everyone has to check in, whether you're working
I,
there, whether you're coming to stay as a tourist, whether you're coming. I mean, there's so many. That hub is so important to the check-in process. It's important to controlling everything that goes in and out, and also controlling what happens on the inside.
Mm.
We're going to be doing all the admin from there. We're also going to be doing our movies at the hub. We'll have sound stages there. So what is going to be a clothing selection for people to come? It's
Costume
initially going to
department.
be a costume department for us. We're going to have a
Yeah.
huge costume warehouse
Yeah.
and props warehouse and,
Yeah.
and everything you can imagine. So all that will be used initially for movies, all going out of the hub.
Yeah.
And then after 5 years, the business will change. Everything will be taken out. All modern things will be taken out.
Yeah.
What you're left with on the inside is 100% period correct.
Correct.
And then the hub will just function as a check-in, corporate center, management of the
Yeah,
whole
but also be
place.
hotel rooms there too. So whenever we're shooting, we'll have crew members that can stay there and work from there and use that as a base of operations. So, but either way, that will be completely aside from the El Paso Verse. It won't affect the El Paso Verse at all.
But it'll function as a check-in place. Once
Yeah.
people come later as tourists, they can
Yeah.
check in, get
It'll-
sorted, set up, go to training through training.
And it'll also act as a currency exchange for people as well.
Yeah.
Coming in and going out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And the flies.
So yeah, I think that's, we got a happy fly here. The thing is that I think people should not think of the first level as a Disneyland or an amusement park, because really it's not. The only thing that makes it similar to that is the fact that there's people that are coming in and going out all day long. The businesses that are there, that are people that are there, they're living in the 1800s. They're not there as a job. These are people that are, permanent part of the residents. They're known throughout the town. People that are coming in, they're coming in to see a small sliver of what the 1800s really were. They're not, they're not coming in and seeing a facsimile. Like when you go to Disneyland, you see a cowboy. Wow, there's a cowboy, and he's just there for the day, just like you.
No, because here you have people that are on a mission to do their job, to keep their
Mhm.
life going.
Mhm.
So I think that's a huge difference. The fact that everyone in there has a purpose, and so
One other thing that we're going to see inside the hub or outside the hub is there's going to be a large theater there,
yeah,
because whenever the films are going to be aired for the El Paso Verse, and there's going to be when they first show it for the first time, the grand reveal, it's going to be shown there for the first time at the theater at the hub, not inside level 1.
yeah, that's something that we were going a bit back and forth on. We were talking about doing a movie theater presentation inside level 1, but that's the only thing that would compromise on the whole vision.
Yeah.
Just like we don't want, if emergency services has to be pulled and there's something happening, you don't want to push a button and send in a helicopter, because it was ruin it for everyone.
Sure.
And just like if you have a movie premiere, you're going to have paparazzis, you're going to have people, coming for the show, and so, and also a movie theater didn't exist until when? When did movies start?
Turn of the century.
Yeah, so
1910.
we're about 30 years earlier than that.
Yeah.
So for that reason, we're going to pull the movie theater for premieres to be at the hub, where which is the border into El Paso, and that means you will, because we're going to be doing a lot of movie premieres. We'll do about, we expect close to 40 of them by the time we open the whole. I don't want to call it the park. It's El Paso Verse. By the time we open it, we will go through all these movie premieres, and it means you'll have a lot of people coming from around the world attending those premieres, which is cool. But if they want to go on a ride on the train and see, kind of look out the window and see what's in the deeper levels, they got to go through certain steps at the check-in process. So we're going to do everything we can to maintain and uphold the authenticity in the same way that we're passionate about that in movies. Every little detail counts, because if there's anything that takes you out of it, it ruins it for everyone.
Yeah. So that's the goal.
So
that is the goal.
So, what else do we have? There was a few other things that I wanted to talk about before we get into the levels. I think you have it. Regarding questions, if any of this spurs questions with you, how we're going to be able to make this transition into the 1880s, please present us those questions. There's a lot to communicate here, and the video, I said this initially, the video that was released a day or two ago called the Paso Verse Revealed does cover a lot of the overview. So if you are hearing this conversation, you can't really pinpoint what it's relating to, you need to go and watch that video. And then we really want to hear your questions as to how this is going to work. We had someone come back and say, look, I love this. I would love to retire and go and be a baseball coach in El Paso Verse. And first thing I wanted to look up is, when was baseball invented, which was 1940, right? 1840. And so he's in luck. He can do that, actually. I can't do it with basketball because it didn't happen until 1903.
Yeah.
So
So we just want to discuss the hub a little bit. There's some other topics. We want to talk about level 1. We want to talk about level 2. We'll get in depth about the train and all that other stuff. But like I said, we have to do this in bite-sized, bits, because if we go any larger than that, it's just too much to cover.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that pretty much covers the hub, basically. If you have any questions about the hub or any of the topics that we're talking about, please let us know, because even if, it may seem like it's a dumb question, or maybe it's something we haven't thought of. Who knows?
Yeah. Absolutely. So again, a little bit of housekeeping. We are a new novel idea. This has never been done before. The El Paso Verse. The closest thing to it, I hear, is Westworld, but this is without the robots, without the evil corporation. This is a real 100% experience where you can go and live in the Old West, and it's coming together. We're early days. We now need our community to help put this word out there that this is happening, and then it's going to just explode, because sooner or later this is going to catch the imagination of the rest of the world, and the waiting list is just going to go from here to forever. We can only handle so many people. So about 10,000 people can probably live on the land that we've charted out now.
Yeah,
As far as
that's one of the
tourists.
things that we were going to discuss too. Maybe when we get into level one on our next stream, we'll talk about how the individual plots of land will be divided up, and the nooner or sooners, what they used to call them, the sooners that get there, the ones that get there the fastest will probably get the best plots of land. So if you want to get involved, you want to get involved early, because it'll be, more choices. So,
Now, but you don't have to come at this as a settler. You don't have to
you
be a
don't.
homesteader.
You don't. You could just be a wino and sleep under the saloon steps if you want to. If that's what you want to do. It's just like the Old West. If they did it in the Old West, then you can do it there too.
Yeah, yeah, and even a little better, because this will be a hot pot of everything that was available.
Yeah.
At that time. I mean,
Yes.
1882 is the magic year.
Yeah.
Should we talk about why we chose the year 1882?
Sure.
You have more opinions about that than me. I mean, I've
Well,
gone by books, and
Yeah. So the problem with choosing a time period to make it is that the technology is progressing as time goes by. So if you have, something in the 1840s, you have a lot less things to work with. Our rule that we came up with is, if it existed somewhere in 1882, you can have it too. We don't know how you acquired it. As long as it was around in 1882, you can have it. So,
sorry, and that's usually because there was a train. There was some kind of
Right.
the train brought it there,
Right.
and the fact that this place is connected to the railroad network of
Right.
America or the world.
Right.
Once it comes into the land, it's who knows where it's coming
Who
from.
knows where it's
We
coming from?
make a creative decision on that. It can come from anywhere,
It could be-
but that makes everything possible.
Right.
And I think that's one of the coolest ideas. The day we realized we had to have a train, a steam train going through this,
Yeah.
just opened everything up, because
Yeah, so the discussion is always, when did the Old West really end? Did it end in 1900? Some people say it ended when Geronimo was captured, and that was finally the taming of the West. I think 1882, shoot out the OK Corral. That's a good time period. It's just before you transition into the new century, and there's still lots of really cool things going on in 1882. So we settled on 1882. Maybe the community decides that they want to do 1885. I don't know. As long as it's still part of the Old West, I'm happy with it. I'm good with it.
and you consider 1890 to be too late,
I think it's too late, because the West is settled already by that time.
because that was kind of the tail end of the
I mean,
romancing the
it's right on the
gunslinger
cusp.
era.
It's right at the very end. So I personally would rather have like 1887, 1888. I'm sorry, 1878, 1879, somewhere around there. But 1882 is
Yeah,
okay too.
but then we lose some
We
conveniences.
use some
You would
conveniences.
lose your air conditioner, right?
We
Wasn't
lose
that
the phone too.
lose the phone? That's a big
Mhm.
one. Telegraph.
Telegraph was there. They had telegraph. So
And what else would we lose? I mean, certain sports, certain things. But I think 82 is the sweet spot.
yeah.
1882. We did talk about whether we should make this, once it opens, does time go forward?
Yeah.
Does it, if El Paso Verse stays open for 10 years, does it become 1892, 10 years later,
Yeah.
which means you would have an advancement in technology?
Yeah.
And we kind of came to the conclusion that that's a hard no, because eventually you will lose the whole romance.
You'd lose the romance of the West. It would be gone, and then you'd be living in turn of the century America, which you could do that at Main Street Disneyland. So I think yeah, it should stay perpetually 1882, or
Yeah.
just, if we can just narrow it down to perpetually 1880, that decade of the 1880s.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should
A
focus
little
on.
bit of wiggle room, maybe.
A little
on
bit
there.
of wiggle room, yeah.
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 But electricity is one that we said a hard no on, and electricity is obviously tempting because
It was there.
illumination and
It was
everything.
there. They had it. It was very, in Texas, there was only, I think, only one town in 1882 that had electricity.
So we could do
So
that. We could
you
do.
could slip it under the radar if you really wanted to, but if we did that, doesn't that take away from the mystique of the Old West? Doesn't it seem like it's developed then?
I think it takes away from the romance of riding into a town where you see oil lamps burning and
Exactly.
fire burning, and
Exactly.
just the illumination of things is going to be so much more powerful with an open flame.
Absolutely. I think also too, the other reason why we chose 1880s is because a lot of the town is going to be centered on the IP that we own
Yeah.
from Lewis Masterson and some other authors, and most of those stories are occurring in the 1880s, and that's why we focused in on that. So that way we can somehow blend these stories and characters into the El Paso verse.
I mean, 100%. A little bit of a plug here, but so we published books. Yeah, I think we can see this. We published books from Lewis Masterson. They're books featuring a character called Morgan Kane. These books really set the tone for, and it gives you a great atmospheric description of what 1882 was like. So I think this particular book, Without Mercy, takes place in 1882. I got to go back and check that, but I believe around those years is the heyday of Morgan Kane. So if anyone has trouble following our passion and kind of you know obsession with the era, I invite you to go read these books because they're going to be important for you to kind of imagine it and see it. And they're very quick and easy. They're quick reads, short reads.
Short books.
Yeah.
Short books.
So and they're going to play an important role. We'll talk about that later. But there's going to be trivia from the books that's going to unlock certain rewards, and so we'll come back to that.
We have to get into that later.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother world.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next stream, I think we're going to probably discuss level 1, and then we're going to have another stream on level 2 and 3. Then we'll have another stream on the economy and the Pasos and how they work. And then anything that you guys bring up, if you guys bring up any questions or any topics for us, we'll bring those up as well in the next few streams too.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them over to us here. Well, we're just about to sign off now. We have a great crowd joining us, and it's good to do these streams because we can address topics without creating videos on topics that gets edited over time.
Yeah.
We can make a video on any topic you want to see, but we rather tackle all these topics together so we can open a healthy discussion and kind of rationale as to why we're coming to these conclusions. So that's part of it. The other part of it is getting the word out so people understand what this idea is about. And it's a novel idea. It's a new idea. And as soon as it captures the hold of people's imagination,
it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's going to be fun.
It is. It is. Okay, so cheers from the first Saloon chat. Well, my drink is gone anyway. So
we're going to be in the Saloon at the El Paso verse.
Yeah, we'll be here. You'll find us here at the next stream. And then we thank you very much for tuning in and showing interest in this project. We really love the fact that we have a community to build this with. So
please give us some questions. We'd love to hear some feedback from you guys. It would be great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Goodbye.